85,000 Americans lost their jobs in December, and the nation's unemployment rate is still at 10%, according to the latest report released by the Labor Department on Friday. Now, if you're having trouble finding a job, what should you do? Well, some folks, like our next guest, have given up trying to do what they once did, and they're taking a stab at new careers. Jeffrey Kafer used to test video games for Microsoft, and Fred Talmanowski is a former insurance executive. Both of them are here with us today, and Jeffrey, Fred, and Fred's wife, Sally, all here with us today.
Thank you.
Let me start, Jeffrey. You worked at Microsoft, and you did testing of products like Xbox and all that cool stuff, but there was a little something you were doing on the side. What was that?
I was a professional voiceover artist. Did commercials, e-learning narration, but my big niche was audiobooks.
When people write books, they have someone to narrate the books. Yes. And sometimes the author does it, as I've done with mine. But in a lot of authors' cases, they don't want to do the narration, so they hire you to do the audio version of the book that people listen to and from work.
Correct, correct. Narrating your own book is a good thing, but a lot of authors want to get a professional to do it, somebody who has some acting ability.
You're saying I'm not professional, Jeffrey?
No. Not a bit, not a bit. Actually, I looked at your stuff. I listened to your samples at Audible, and they're actually very good. But a lot of authors don't have the time or the inclination to do that. It's actually very hard work, reading an entire book and then editing it and processing it and doing all the work that's involved.
So when you got laid off at Microsoft, you decided, hey, look, I'm already doing this part-time. I'll make a full-time gig out of it.
Correct.
And it's now taking care of the family.
It is indeed. Yes, yes.
And Fred, you and Sally had a different story. I mean, you had a six-figure salary. You're an insurance executive with one of the biggest insurance companies, downsizing, layoff. You went how many months looking for work?
I spent the first 6 months sending out approximately 400 resumes.
And how many did you hear back from?
I got one telephone interview.
One?
One.
Out of 400 inquiries.
400 resumes, which I changed to fit the job.
And that's got to get just emotionally disturbing and discouraging after all that time.
It was very discouraging. I have 3 daughters. I had 3 weddings. I just put the youngest through college. So I had rising debt, obviously, concerned about how we were going to go on. And I finally just made a decision to go on my own. And
what did you do? What did you find that you and Sally said, well, we can make a go of this?
Well, believe it or not, we went through what's called a franchise broker. And what they do is they interview you and find out your likes and dislikes. And this particular broker came up with five recommended franchises that he thought would be a good fit for Sally and I. And believe it or not, one of the franchises was a company called Duty Calls.
Duty Calls.
D-O-O-D-Y-C-A-L-L-S.
As in dog.
That's in dog duty.
Right, okay.
They
all do it.
A very niche business. They all do it. It's not going to be engineered away. It's always going to be there, and people don't like to pick it up.
That's right, they don't.
They love the dogs.
So this is a business, Fred, where you contract with, I guess, individuals in their yards or apartment complexes, and then you guys go in and you pick up the dog poop.
We have uniformed people. They have an identifiable truck that's lime green with a big duty dog on the side. We have our little dustpans and bags.
Yep.
We clean up the waste, and then we spray the tools off when we're done to make sure they're sanitary, to prevent dog viruses from being passed between people and other pets in other yards.
You're making a go of this.
We're having a great time with it. It's very profitable. The dog business and the pet business in general has actually had increased revenues even in the last year during the recession.
You know, if you're knee-deep in poop, you really should consider a job in politics because it's a whole lot like it.
Well, we always say we're #1 in the #2 business.
What I find fascinating in both of you is that you didn't just wait for the jobs to come to you. You came to the conclusion that wasn't going to happen. So you started looking for the jobs first by finding something that you were willing to do and that you thought you could do. Was that sort of the key, Jeffrey, in your case?
Well, it was for me, certainly. This audiobook narration came to me fairly naturally. I spent 20 years in the theater, so doing the actual narration was second nature to me. It's the other side of the business that's the challenge. It's the marketing and the customer service and the public relations, all the other stuff that goes along with the business.
But you may not be making as much money as you did with Microsoft. I'm assuming you probably had some pay cut. Yeah. But are you having more fun being, in essence, in control of your future?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I work at home.
Yeah.
So I get to wake up with my kids. I get to send them off to school. I'm there when the bus comes and drops them off. I never miss dinner. I get to have lunch with my lovely wife, Sarah. I get to do, I never miss soccer games or ballet recital. I get to do all the family things that you just can't put a price tag on.
Now, Fred, you and Sally, you guys obviously took a huge pay cut to start this business, but as opposed to working for a company that sets your salary, you really have unlimited potential if this thing takes off. And as long as dogs continue to do what dogs do, it looks like there's a market out there.
Yeah, we really look at this as an opportunity rather than a negative. We always believe that, you know, God closes one door and opens another. And we saw it as a challenge. Sally was very supportive. I think we have a great opportunity to not only build this company for ourselves, but possibly for our children. So we're looking at it as a typical American opportunity to take the bull by the horns and go with it.
Or take the dog by the ears, or whatever.
Exactly.
And Sally, this obviously, you know, is a big career change, but you guys are spending more time together.
We are. We've gone and cleaned up yards together, which was very fun to do. But I did enjoy it. I mean, it's nice. And it gives Fred and I a common goal, something to work for, instead of going our separate ways in the morning and going him to his job and I go to my job. This gives us something that we can work on together, and it's a nice feeling to have.
Sally, Fred, Jeffrey, thank you very much for being here and telling us your stories. You know, it's always fascinating to learn that when life deals you a big bucket of lemons, maybe you can make lemonade, and that's exactly what they've done. I know a lot of people are out of work and they're hurting. What I hope you'll realize is don't wait for someone to come to you. It may be that you sit down and think creatively. Think of what you want to do and like to do. All the money in the world isn't worth it if you don't like what you do. It's better to make less money and love your job than make a bunch of money and hate every day you wake up. And I've met a lot of happy people who don't make a lot of money, and I've met some miserable people who made a whole bunch of money. The key, finding something you like to do. Thanks so much to these guys for being here with us today.